Thank you for watching another N-to-1 for game video. Times like this are times where I think it's effective and I think it's useful to pick out the good from the bad. And in this case, we've got a lot of innovators coming up with creative formats since they're all unofficial tournaments and they're online. And shout outs to the PokeStats crew who are letting them run this tournament on their server, and especially to Mike Fouché, who's organizing this weird ban list best of 3 conquest format thing. And I'll put links to Mike Fouché's Twitter in the description, and whatever information they have on the results of the tournament, I'll put links to that in the description when we get it. How it works is you come up with 3 deck lists. Every player has 3 deck lists. And at the beginning of each round, you pick... Oh, and the deck lists are visible to everyone. So at the beginning of each round, you look at your opponent's 3 decks. Your opponent looks at your 3 decks. And then you double blind, right? You get to pick a deck that they cannot play. So after that... Right, so you've got 2 decks left. Both you and your opponent, you've got 2 decks left, and then you do a best of 3. And after you win with 1 deck, you cannot play that again. So you're just trying to win a best of 3 with 2 decks after your opponent has, vetoed one of your deck choices. And when all this is over, I will put together what I think are some of the most interesting decks. I think it's also worthy of note that my teammate, Zach Lohman, he's also playing, and he's playing Dragapult. I actually forget off the top. He just told me. I forget off the top of my head what decks he brought. And also my friend Lock Win, he is also playing in this tournament with Malamar, which you can see a link to the stuff we did on the Malamar, TrevNoir, Mewtwo in the description. That's a previous video. You should really check that out. That's one of my favorite videos on this channel. But anyway, without further ado, this is round 1 of the tournament, and here are the decks that I presented, and here are the decks that my opponent presented. So, I got to ban one of my opponent's decks, and my opponent got to ban one of my decks. And the deck lists are all open. So, what do you think? What deck do you think I chose to veto? And what deck do you think my opponent chose to veto? Go ahead, place your bets. I'm not going to tell you the outcome of this. You got to watch this whole thing. I will tell you that this series does go to 3 games. But yeah, go ahead. What deck do you think I banned? What deck do you think my opponent banned? And the answer is my opponent banned my Mewtwo Malamar deck, and I banned my opponent's Blacephalon deck, I think. Hold on. I've got to pull it up because I don't remember. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he was running Blacephalon on Broken Bonds, and I banned it. And I was playing Mewtwo Malamar, and he banned it. And his Unknown Hand deck was just one of the most interesting decks in the tournament, and I am glad that I got to play him, so here goes. And I believe my opponent is choosing to go first. We wish each other good luck. This is the Dragapult deck. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he goes first. I remember a few details here, but I don't recall everything. So he starts with Mew, which is not what he wants to start with here. Oh, and I am going with Baby Blacephalon. So I'm trying to remember. Well, I decided the order was Baby Blacephalon first, right? And then Blacephalon-GX second. So this deck runs 2 Marnie, so that's bad because it disrupts me. But, oh, and 2 Reset Stamp, that's also bad. He runs Great Catcher, which, you know, really isn't that much of a problem unless I've got a GX in play. So, yep, had a choice there, but I decided to go with the thinning option, and I dumped the Great Catcher just because he's got 1 Pokemon GX in his deck, and it's likely not gonna, I mean, even if he does play it, by then I've probably, like, I'm only gonna kill the Dedenne as a last turn option if I've only got 2 prizes left. And by that point, right, if I've got 2 prizes left, I've got ample, you know, I've got the other Great Catcher anyway, so I just choose to ditch the Great Catcher. And yeah, and here I'm just thinning is winning. I'm trying to thin out my deck, just trying to decide exactly what I need to do here. And, you know, I'm considering a desperate turn 1 welder here because I just need to draw some Pokemon. Like, and foregoing the turn 1 attack, yeah, that's unfortunate. So I'm thinning out my deck here again, either to get a baby Blacephalon to attack with, or the Zacian V. You know, I think about it and I'm like, yeah, I could get a better hand here, and I'm gonna need to get another welder. I don't want to keep my Jirachi. Oricorio's not going to die next turn, really, no matter what he does, so do that. Yep, and that's just so the Jirachi doesn't die. And I still don't have a welder. But, you know, next turn, if I'm really thirsty for a welder, I can just, you know, I can just Palpad my welder in and try to draw into it with Heat Factory. I have 4 welder in the deck, but I effectively have 6 if I Palpad 2 of them. If I Palpad only 1, then I only have 5. And wow, look at that. He gets he gets the turn 2 the VMAX. And yeah, and so I showed you his list, so keep in mind that he's not playing the Malamar, so he's just gonna rely on consistent energy attachments, which I think is the best way to go. I've definitely seen lists with Malamar, but nah, man, you just straight energy attachment. I mean, your Dragapult VMAX isn't gonna die. It's not gonna die in 1 turn. What can do 350 damage? And I'm still desperate here, so I'm probably just gonna quick ball for something I can welder onto. Yep, that Great Catcher isn't helping me. But yeah, man, just still desperate. But this time I actually have the option to, you know, Great Catcher, or to welder onto an attacker. So what I'm trying to do is slow down my opponent here by getting a Bursting Burn, and if I attack with Fireball Circus next turn somehow, then I only need 6 energy instead of 7. And also, I have the benefit of maybe he won't attack. Maybe he'll get Tails on Confusion. So it might have been a good idea to pick up that scoop up net that Jirachi if he didn't have Mr. Mime in play. And unfortunately, you know, I don't have Boss's Order in the deck. I did have it in an earlier version, but oh man, woo. So Boss's Order, so I'm never going to knock out that Mr. Mime. It's going to be there the whole time. So Scoop Up Net is only going to work on a fresh Jirachi. So he's working out his spread options here. So if he had a Zigzagoon, he could just kill the Jirachi and the Oricorio at the same time. Yeah, so that Oricorio start, that really did me in. And, you know, the Oricorio start, yes, it does cause some matches to be lost. But, you know, you have to decide when you're building a deck, is it worth it? Every deck building decision is a trade-off. Now, some decisions aren't a trade-off. Some are obvious decisions, but this one, yeah. You got to decide what you're willing to do, what you're willing to risk losing, and what you want to gain. And at this point, I've already burned up 2 welders, so I'm like, maybe I need some more welders here. And then I Fire Crystal. And so, yeah, things are not looking good, but, dang it. I need to be able to do something. So I can't scoop up net to Jirachi, and I really need the Fire Crystal. That's important. So my opponent has some outs to Confusion. He does run Switch, I think. He runs 4 Switch. Yeah, so I decide to just try to win on Confusion flips here. So I just go for and my hand's just not good by my estimation, so I just go for the Intrepid Sword. But yeah, so if he's got a Switch in his hand, he's got an out to the Confusion. And he dumps the Dragapult VMAX. He must have a way of getting it back. Oh, he has 3 VMAX. Right? Oh, man. And this happens, right? This is one of those Murphy's Laws thing. Like, if I need to end a turn with Intrepid Sword, then I'm just going to get Marnied. So he does have Zigzagoon in the deck. So he could have, in theory, killed that Jirachi there that's active earlier. But, and maybe he's going to do it right now. We'll see. And he chooses to do so. And so we've got what is potentially a 3 prize turn. Right? And I'm doing the math here. I'm like, wait a minute. Isn't Blacephalon-GX dead no matter what? So I really need him to get Tails on Confusion. So I'm just going to try to duke it out here with Blacephalon. Hey, maybe I'll draw Welder next turn, and I'll have 6 energy on Blacephalon-GX and just knock it out. Oh, and I've got an energy on the bench, too. And he gets out of Confusion. Right, and I don't have a way to bring up a Pokemon unless it's a GX, because all I have is Great Catcher. That's the only Gust I have. So thinning is winning, man, and just desperation. That's the theme of this whole game here. I'm thinning, just trying to get something that I can use. But here we go, and got a Mind Blown too. And just pray that he doesn't have the second energy, but, he probably does, right? Because he did voluntarily send that Dragapult VMAX to the bench, so he probably knew he had a backup plan. So he's got 4 Psychic Energy, 4 Psychic Horror Energy. So he's got 8 energy total. And you've got 3 Energy Spinner, which I guess is pretty cool if you go second, which he did not. Yeah, I think he went first. But if you go second, then, clearly you get, an energy for the current turn and an energy for the next turn. And now he gets 2 prizes. So now, what I'm banking on right now is I need to get a knockout. I need to get a knockout this turn. And I need that Dragapult V on the bench to not be able to evolve and to not get a second energy. Right, and even then, right, 60 damage on just the Dragapult V will knock me out. Or wait a minute, no, it won't. Well, I'm gonna have to pull up the card for reference here. I think it does more than 60. Dragapult V. Yeah, it does 100. It does 140 if it moves from the bench. And so he's pretty sure he's got game in hand. but I'm just playing it out because it's a tournament, and I am one short of knockout, and that is game. For a minute, I forget how to reach chat. And just letting my opponent know I'll go first game 2. So the game's over. He gets, or he is required to change his deck, and then I get the option to change my deck. Do I change? Let's find out. So yeah, all kinds of things went wrong there, right? And all right, so there you just saw I picked Blacephalon-GX. So this is the Victor Burgers Kogan list. I pulled it off of Limitless. He got like top 16 maybe at the Malamar Regionals in February. It had custom catcher in it, and I just switched it out for Boss's Order. So this list is stolen. The Blacephalon, the Unbroken Bonds Blacephalon list, if I didn't mention it already, I got that from Evan Gregory. We worked on it together, but he was the brains behind that. And the 3 decks that I picked for this tournament, and all right, so yeah, Poipole. I start with Poipole because I had a rationale for starting with Poipole, which I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, so the rationale for starting with Poipole is what I was hoping for was to be able to attack very early with a my opponent laughs. He is typing text me. I was hoping to start very early. If I had an attacking deck, I would actually win this turn. So yeah, this is, my opponent's playing Unknown Hand Salazzle. I was hoping to get off an early attack with Naganadel GX, right? Because if I got a Welder next turn, and I got either the Psychic Energy, I'm playing 1 Psychic Energy and 1 Beast Energy, pretty normal. If I got the Venom Shot, I could just KO stuff on the bench instead of KOing his active Pokemon, which, is going to be for a large portion of a normal game is going to be the Psyduck. You'll notice in this game he doesn't have Psyduck active every turn. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I already said I stole the list. So I could have picked the same deck, but this is what I was hoping to do was to take advantage of my ability to bursting burn and thus prevent the Psyduck from attacking, right? Because it always gets heads if you have Will. But what I want to do is prevent Psyduck from attacking with Bursting Burn and Confusion, or use Burst GX so that I could draw a prize. For at least 1 turn, I could draw a prize and not activate their Oricorio's Dance of Tribute. So that's why I switched decks over, even though I could have played the same deck. Because remember, this format, the player who wins a game, they have to pick a different deck the next game, whereas the player who loses, they have an option. So there we go. So he gets a few critical pokes on his bench, and I'm feeling good because he probably won't be able to attack with Psyduck next turn because he has to see. There we go. I'm going for it. Now I don't have Welder, but I decide to try anyway. Ultra Conversion. And do I get it? No. So my opponent... So I do put down the Blacephalon-GX just in case I need to attack with it later. But, you know, my opponent doesn't have any hand disruption, so I could have held on to it. I guess... Yeah, alright. So, yeah, I just was getting ready the option to attack with it. And I Marnie, just to try to disrupt my opponent. And there's my Welder, but no energy. So there, I just burst GX because I want a prize. I'm like, man, I didn't get the Welder to Venom shot, so I'm just going to try to... Like, I need to draw prizes as quickly as possible. I need to draw a prize every turn, otherwise he's going to outspeed me. So in practice matches, I've both won and lost against this deck, usually win, and I usually win because I outspeed them. I'm able to get a KO every turn. So I do the Ultra Space, and, you know, I'm not going to need 3 Naganadel in play. So there's my Ultra Conversion bait. And, you know, and I'm trying for some fire energy here. And things are just not going my way here. I got 1 fire energy out of 3 cards. So charging up, that's an obvious choice. I like how PTCGO has the Naganadel are glowing. You know, things that... Excuse me. Excuse me. Things that you're able to do or use are glowing, so you don't forget to do them. So I've got this conundrum here. Do I Welder? Do I go for it with Welder? Do I Boss's Order to try to stall my opponent out? So my opponent's got the energy attached to his Salandit. And so he's going to retreat and attack next turn. Almost certain so. I try to slow down the game by bringing up something that can't attack. And let's see if that's successful. My opponent, he doesn't have any switch, but he does have Scoop Up Net. But keep in mind that the Scoop Up Nets are just for, you know, they're for the end game. When you pick up your Salazzle, you know, all 3 of your Salazzle if you're lucky, because you want to increase your hand size. So yeah, I'm just YOLOing it. And there we go. I get the Welder and the energy, and the ICA is pretty useless. Bursting Burn. So that reduces the number of fighting energy I need to knock out Oricorio. So I only need 3 instead of 4. But, of course, my opponent runs away, sends up Salandit, and he does a Call for Family. So this deck has setup options. It's got Professor Oak setup. It's got Call for Family. The deck doesn't whiff a lot. So there we go. So I'm setting myself up for a Venom shot. And then I'm like, I'm really eyeing that Beast energy, right? Because... And I'm checking for the Psychic energy. So I'm like, oh, can I use the Beast energy on my active? Because I don't, you know, I want to be able to Venom shot. And if there's no Psychic in the deck, then I need to save that Beast energy for Naganadel GX. Excuse me. So I'll go for an Ultra Conversion. I'm not worried about decking out. I'm not worried about losing those Blacephalon. Not worried about losing Beast Ring. The deck does not draw prizes. So Mind Blown, I only need 1 energy. So that's my 1 energy. I leave 2 energy on the Blacephalon-GX because I want to be able to retreat next turn if need be. So I've just activated his Dance of Tribute. I've got the Psychic energy. My opponent, fortunately, does not have any form of energy disruption. No crushing hammers, nothing like that. And weakness. Hey, if he keeps going for 9 turns, I could lose. I could lose this Blacephalon-GX. Isn't that amazing? So there we go. I go for the Venom Shot. And just check my deck. Oh, and I don't want to forget to charging up. I would have forgot if those things weren't glowing. So I can't play any trainers. And I Ultra Conversion, right? Because this deck is not going to go enough turns for me to deck out. This game, just because of the deck my opponent's playing, he's going to draw what he needs to. So there we go. I get greedy. I draw 2 prizes, which mathematically that doesn't make sense because I'm still, I'm still going to need. Well, actually, no. I was going to say I can't draw a prize next turn because my welders are disabled by Psyduck's attack. I actually could attack with the bench Naganadel. And so he concedes right there. So things are not going his way. And so there we go. We've got an exciting best of 3. We actually do go to 3 games. So now I've won with Baby Blacephalon. I've won with Blacephalon-GX. So I can't play with that, so I just go back to the deck I played game 1, Baby Blacephalon, Unbroken Bonds, and now my opponent has to play Unknown Hand again. So, pull up my deck list here. So what are my outs to, to Unknown Hand? Do I have anything cool, any cool tricks like I was telling you before? My opponent starts with Mew, which is, is not relevant here. And remember, he started with Mew when we played Dragapult, so that's kind of a theme for my opponent. So yeah, the cool tricks I was telling you about, like Bursting Burn to, which I didn't do. I didn't do a Bursting Burn against the Psyduck last game. The Bursting Burn, which actually I could do this game because I do have 1 Blacephalon-GX. And the the Burst GX, so I can get a prize without activating their Dance of Tribute or Choreo GX. I don't have those tricks. Or I have the Bursting Burn, but I don't have the I don't have. I do have that too, don't I? But the trick of knocking out stuff on their bench, like Oricorios or Salazzles, don't have it. So on Intrepid Sword, I'm like, I can't Welder next turn because I got rid of this Fire Energy, but I'll just Intrepid Sword into a Fire Energy. And what do you know? I get it. And the cool thing here is I know I can just try for a Welder next turn, try for anything next turn with Jirachi because he's never going to knock it out. So he plays Professor Oak's setup, which means we're safe. We're safe from Psyduck's Disable. Is that the name of the attack? I don't remember. I'm going to have to pull up Bulbapedia Psyduck PCG. I don't have it up right now. The deck lists I'm looking at, I don't think it's large enough that I can actually see the text on the cards. But that's the wrong Psyduck. Yeah, I'm looking at other stuff, on another screen. You can't see it. Is it from Team Up? That would be weird. It's called Headache. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent can't play any trainer cards from their hand during their next turn. 1 colorless energy. So you can play fire in a deck where your only attacker is water. Your only attacker that you actually plan on doing damage with is water. I wonder if anyone's actually drawn a prize with this deck. because it does 10 damage. That's funny. It would be funny. So here we go. So I still got some options here, you know, and I'm comfortable with yeeting some energy away with Giant Hearth because, you know, I've got a lot. Right? I've got a lot of energy. And I don't need a lot because none of his Pokemon have high HP. So when I Fireball Circus, it's only going to be 1 or 2 cards. So, yep, I Welder to my attacker. And then when I draw cards, I can figure out what I'm discarding with Fiery Flint. Pretty sure I hold on at least to 1 Great Catcher because I know he's got Oricorio-GX. And I want to save it for that. Okay, I get rid of 2 Scoop Up Net. And Fireball Circus for 2. So with that Mew out of the way, my opponent can now use Headache. Will he get it? No Will, but here's the thing, even if they don't have Will, they can still get heads anyway. And I don't think my opponent's playing Lieutenant Surge. No. You know, Lieutenant, and I agree with that, because that could throw off the consistency of the deck. And I'm like, dude, I am in delight here, because he does not get heads. So I've got at least another turn of freedom here. So I'm like, oh man, I better burn up as many items as I can. I don't remember if I go for the Great Catcher. I think... yeah, I played this match yesterday, but... Alright, so I don't forget that I have a Great Catcher in my hand. Thank goodness. Yeah, and there we go. So I just get some energy back to my discard pile, back into my deck. You know, and then, so when I Giant Hearth, you know, pretty sure I can just go for it. Like, yeah, I don't need the Welder because, you know, like this Blacephalon is never getting knocked out. And I guess I get rid of the Heat Factory because I just don't, you know, I just don't want my opponent to be able to use it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm never going to use this Great Catcher again because he's going to Headache me. Now watch. I'm going to knock out Oricorio. And unfortunately, he has 2 Ordinary Rod. That's 2 outs to get his stuff out of his Pokemon out of the discard pile. So he's got 2 Unknown Hand. I wonder what the odds are of prizing that stuff. Prizing both Unknown Hand. I'm actually going to look this up. I'm going to pull up the exact article. from Pojo.com, written in 2005. Number of same card in your deck. Probability of that card appearing twice in your prizes, 1 out of 118 games, so 0.85%. So very unlikely that both Unown will end up in your prizes. So it's worth the odds. So he doesn't have anything getting prizes out of the getting cards out of the prize pile. Obviously no Gladion because that's not legal. So most of my items have been yeeted, not because I can't use them. So here we go. So I've got to just rely on being able to consistently Fireball Circus without access to Fire Crystal. My opponent has access to Fire Crystal. I don't. So it looks like I'm safe here, right? Because, my opponent had 19 cards in deck. I wish there was a meter that says how many cards in hand. I hate having to count them visually. If this unknown hand thing really takes off, maybe we'll get a slew of support tickets go into the Pokemon Company and say, hey, we really need a thing that shows you how many cards they have in hand. They will probably ignore you. So there we go. So that Oricorio-GX, he gets it back. Or possibly he just drew another one. Because now that I'm looking at his list, I thought he had just one. Just because of how common it is to just have one. He has 2 in his list. So here we go. Only need to draw 2 prizes, right? No big deal. So here we go. So it's in my advantage to it's in my advantage to, just try to get that fire energy as soon as I can, because, so I get a switch, not too helpful. I need to be able to do another Fireball Circus and win the game, and I need 2 energy to knock out his Psyduck. His deck is getting thin. And unfortunately, it looks like he's going to get the combo this turn. He doesn't need to do any more disables. So I'm going to try to do a hand count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. Mind. He got more cards than his. And so when they put down the unknown hand, that's when your heart skips a beat, right? Because when they actually put down the card, they know they've got the combo. So he's dotted all his I's, crossed his T's, made sure he has the right number of cards and what his number of cards in hand will be after he plays everything he intends to play. And I congratulate him. And he Fisherman's. He hasn't used a supporter yet, so he gets back a bunch of fire energy. And I think that's it. Oh, he Fire Crystals. And then he uses the ability. And there we go. Congrats to my opponent, Andrew Hedrick, who moves on to round 2 with a 1-0 record. So do you think I should have played any of those 3 matches differently? We had Blacephalon Unbroken Bonds versus Dragapult, where I just drew poorly the whole game. I really think that's an even matchup. Because I've played the matchup so many times. I really think it's even. And then we had Blacephalon GX against Unknown Hand, which I won. My opponent ended the game early. And these are untimed matches, by the way, so he totally didn't have to do that to save time or anything like that. And then we had Blacephalon Unbroken Bonds versus Unknown Hand, which I've won that match before in practice. You just have to consistently get knockouts every turn. But I just didn't get it. My opponent got everything he needed. He played the deck properly as far as I could tell. So what do you think about these matches? What do you think about this format? This is very creative, and the TO, if I didn't say already, he's doing a good job. Our social media is in the comments. please like and subscribe. We are Team N to 1 for game. I will be sure to give you more information about me and my friends playing in this tournament. We'll see how long we can keep the fun going. Ariados. Goodbye.